Hello, 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 once again on my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. You're listening to Angela's Soapbox. I am Angela Box. So much going on this week. I don't even know what to say. It's days like today where I miss my daily show because, I recorded my Saturday show. I'm taping this on Wednesday the 18th. I taped it earlier this morning. And I'm like, y'all, there's so much going on. So before we begin, let's dedicate a digital killing plastic straw, shall we? I was like, who do I want to give it to? Do I want to give it to the Secret Service? Do I want to give it to the mole that is giving away information of where President Trump is? Or maybe we should give it to ABC executives and David Muir. But you know what? It's going to whoever keeps setting up Donald Trump to be assassinated, because in case you missed it, shots were fired last Sunday at Trump International Golf Course, and he escaped again. So, God, there's some crazy stuff going on. Okay, so the left is trying to downplay this whole thing. Kind of like, have you heard any talk about the Georgia school shooter in the past 2 weeks? Of course you haven't. That went away because we come to find out that this kid was like a transgender ally or whatever, and was like all upset that trannies didn't have more acceptance or something like that. It's like, okay, so when that little nugget came out, you didn't hear anything else about that shooter. And now that we know that the Trump International Golf Course shooter is yet another leftist by the name of Ryan Routh, I think is how to say it. We're not going to hear much more about him, but DeSantis is like, never fear, I'm here. Florida's here. We're going to get to the bottom of these things. Okay, so there's a lot of very, very curious things about the Trump assassination attempt number 2. Well, first of all, at some point, if you're a deep stater, if you're a globalist, if you're an ever-Trumper, like at what point do you go, at what point do you step back and let the blinders fall off and go, maybe I've been wrong this whole time? Because the Lord God above does seem to have his hand on Donald Trump. How many people do you know that have ever survived not one but 2 assassination attempts? Now, granted, Sunday's assassination attempt was less of a close call than Butler PA's was, but still, what the actual F, okay? So we have all kinds of really weird shenanigans about this scenario. First of all, it's really weird that this just so happened to happen. That was a mouthful. Just so happened to occur, let's say that, on the same day that the ABC whistleblower dropped that nugget of information, which we're going to get to in the show. But this guy, Ryan Routh, is a rabid leftist, big-time Trump hater, big-time Ukraine war shill, went over to Ukraine several times to try and get mercenaries to join the fight. He wanted to recruit Afghan fighters that were former Afghan fighters to be mercenaries in Ukraine. He was interviewed by, let me read this. Let me make sure I'm giving you accurate information here, because unlike leftists, I do like to be correct. This is Cat Turd had a really great tweet about this, or an X post. One of these days soon, I will start saying X. It's hard for me because Twitter just kind of trips off the tongue, and X does not have that level of melodiousness, in my opinion. But I need to learn how to say X because the leftists say Twitter. Anyway, Cat Turd on X had this great post about this, and this is the question he asked. How does someone who's from North Carolina and lives in Hawaii, which, side note, taking you off the post for a sec, side note, this guy's unemployed, yet somehow has the money to go to Ukraine multiple times, recruit people to fight, live in Hawaii part-time, which is an extremely expensive place to live, and has evidently an arsenal of weaponry. Not only that, he was on the FBI's radar for a very, very long time. I think since like 2008 or 2009 or something like that. He was arrested for like some weapons charge. And then weirdly, it was all dropped. Like, and he tried to shoot Trump with an AK-47. So so many sus things. You know what's funny? It's like, if you tried to make this guy more of a Fed, you couldn't. Like, this guy is 100% an asset on some level, even though he's a wackadoodle. Anyway, I digress. Back to the cat turd post. How does someone who's from North Carolina and live in Hawaii know where to be in Florida at the exact location, at the exact golf course where Trump made a last-minute decision to play golf? This was not on his itinerary. Sorry if you're hearing outside noise there. There's a motorcycle going by. It was not on his itinerary. It was not anything that he had planned. He had no campaign stop, so he didn't have any public itinerary for that day. So how did this guy, who CNN tries to write it off saying, oh, he like waited around for 13 hours, as you do. How would he know where Trump was going to be and when Trump was going to be there, unless he was tipped off by somebody in the deep state? I mean, duh. Anyway, so here's something else that people are talking about. What are the chances that CBS News, the New York Times, Semaphore Newsweek, and several other media outlets, all who hate Donald Trump, all interviewed Ryan Ralph at some point in the last few years? So here's from a post from Shadow of Ezra. Number one, Ralph was featured in the New York Times in March 2023 for his efforts to recruit fighters for Ukraine. New York Times. Number two, CBS News even admits to texting frequently with him for over a year during the early stages of the war. Okay, again, he's some rando, okay? He's some rando that somehow all of these, quote, legacy media sources have his phone number and are in contact with him. It's weird. Three, Semaphore, whatever that is, interviewed him about recruiting Afghan mercenaries for Ukraine. And Newsweek spoke with him in 2022 regarding his pro-Ukraine stance. There's also posts of him that looks like he was at the Kamala Harris rally, which they bust a lot of people in, I think in North Carolina a couple weeks ago. He's got a Biden-Harris sticker on his truck. And it's funny because the left tried to make it seem like he was like some Trump guy. And it's like, if he was a Trump guy, like, we would know that within about 30 seconds. When the news started to come out that he was like a hardcore, rabid, lunatic Democrat, like, again, no one's even talking about it today. Like, nobody. Just like no one's talking about the ABC whistleblower. Nobody's talking about the other assassination attempt that gets more and more suspicious by the day. Like, they're doing too much, as I like to say on this show. You're doing too much. And I think that we're going to come to find out that this guy was probably a CIA asset on some level. He was some sort of an asset. Some people think, like Mike Benz, the great attorney, he thinks that this is military intelligence work and the visa scam would need the approval of the U.S. State Department. So here's what he pointed out. With Legion growth stalling, and this is from an article that he found and highlighted, Ryan Ralph, a former construction worker from Greensboro, North Carolina, is seeking recruits from among Afghan soldiers who fled the Taliban. Mr. Ralph, who spent several months in Ukraine last year, said he planned to move them, in some cases illegally, from Pakistan and Iran to Ukraine. He said dozens had expressed interest. Quote, "We can probably purchase some passports through Pakistan since it's such a corrupt country," he said in an interview from Washington. What? Like, are you kidding me? So Mike Benz is like, this dude would 100% need approval of the State Department to do this. And if he's out trying to recruit people to go around the United States military or the United States treaties that we've got with certain NATO allies, etc., like work around those to get fighters in to basically be proxies for American soldiers, the State Department would have to know about that. So they knew about this guy. This guy is an asset. There's something going on with him. And the fact that he's alive still, we've got two situations this week where we've got potential X didn't kill himself. We've got Diddy didn't kill himself and Ryan Routh didn't kill himself. Because unlike Thomas Crooks, this guy is alive. And he seems quite unstable. But also maybe he's crazy like a fox. And the intelligence clan used him for that reason, because they knew they'd be able to get some use out of him one day to be a patsy, to be a trigger man, whatever. So more curious things that happened with this are CNN just so happened to be there that day, just so happened to have a news cruise on the Trump golf course. That's never happened before. Just like MSNBC and other media outlets that never, ever run Trump rallies ran the July 13th rally in Butler, PA. It's like, who tipped them off to whatever was coming? Look, I don't want to think that every single person working in CNN, at MSNBC, ABC, whatever, I don't want to think that they're all like in on something. I think what's going on is they all have the same mindset. They all hate Trump. And someone at the top is orchestrating this. Someone at the top at these organizations are talking to someone in our government that is giving them information. And since they all think that Trump is Hitler and that killing him is, like killing Hitler, if you had a chance to kill Hitler, wouldn't you do it? Like, their rhetoric has caused all of this, and they don't want to acknowledge that at all. They're doubling down on this idea that Trump's quote violent rhetoric is causing all of this. It's like, you literally say every 5 seconds that he's a threat to democracy, that his supporters are Nazis, that he's a Nazi, that he's Hitler. Like, what? Anyway, so there's one more thing. I mean, this rabbit hole is a whole thing that I'm sure we'll continue to get into as time goes on, but I want to touch on how the Vindmans are connected to this. So if you'll remember who Alexander Vindman is, that pudgy little Ukrainian lieutenant admiral, whatever his name is. So remember Alexander Vindman and his role in the Trump-Russia collusion hoax and the Hunter Biden laptop hoax and all the things that Vindman was involved in. And it's hilarious that even after Vindman was discovered to be a total liar, like the left doesn't care. They're like, oh, he's our guy. He's amazing. Like I remember a Curb Your Enthusiasm where he was guest starring and he was like having his memoir that was being signed by him, and Larry David was there at this party, and just, all the hoi polloi leftists of Hollywood just kissed this guy's ass. But anyway, remember who Alexander Vindman is. He's the guy that, I'm so concerned. He went to Adam Schiff and he said, Congressman Schiff, such a good man, Congressman Schiff, loves going to the Standard Hotel allegedly with underage, perhaps boys, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. He said, Donald Trump was talking to Zelensky, and he told Zelensky that if he prosecutes Hunter Biden, well, he's going to get a quid pro quo. And when that whole farce came out, the impeachment hoax number one that stemmed from, which was a complete lie, because Trump released the transcripts proving that was not true at all. All he said was, hey, Zelensky, I know you campaigned on being a reformer. How about putting your money where your mouth is? We've got a situation where this guy is running for president. His son, former vice president, his son is like up to his neck in all these dirty deeds, and it's all over this laptop. Can you look into it? Can you look into this fact that that Biden bragged about getting the prosecutor fired? If Poroshenko didn't fire the prosecutor, you weren't getting $1 billion from the Obama administration. Like, can you look into that? That's not a quid pro quo. Joe Biden was doing the quid pro quo. Obama was doing the quid pro quo. So that whole hoax, that's Alexander Vindman. So his ugly, pasty ginger wife is by the name of Rachel Vindman. And she basically she's deleted the tweet, but essentially she mocked the second assassination attempt of Trump, and she got just hammered all over Twitter. So Shawn Davis said Shawn Davis is head of the Federalist. Great website y'all should be following. It sure would be nice to know whether the would-be assassin, who was a deranged Ukraine partisan, ever interacted with any of the Vindmans, all of whom were heavily involved in the 2019 coup attempt against Trump. So lots and lots and lots of very curious thing when it comes to this guy. But we're going to have to table this for right now because we have other things coming up. Next segment, we've got Justin Folk, who is the producer director of the great Matt Walsh documentaries, What is a Woman, and the current one, Am I Racist? And of course, he also did No Safe Spaces with Adam Carolla. So looking forward to talking to him. You are listening to Angela's Soapbox, and I will be right back. Welcome to Angela's Soapbox. I am absolutely thrilled to have a producer and a director who is causing a lot of problems for the left right now. His name is Justin Folk. You might know him better as the man behind the movies No Safe Spaces with Adam Carolla, What is a Woman with Matt Walsh, and now the current one that he's doing is Am I Racist, which literally not one single mainstream reviewer has reviewed, but we're going to talk about it here. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you, Angela.
Well, I'm really excited to talk to you because we have a kind of an interesting commonality with Adam Carolla years ago, and that was the star of No Safe Spaces. Years ago, I was the receptionist on the Man Show, back when Kimmel was normal, and evidently, I'm in Adam's book. We played a prank on Natalie Maines, which I don't even remember, but my mother told me. She was like, "Were you the receptionist on the Man Show?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "You're in Adam Carolla's book." And I'm like, "Okay." So that's funny. So how did you get involved with these types of documentaries, kind of mocking the left?
Well, first of all, I love the Man Show. Let me just say that. So
yes,
I was a fan.
I wasn't a juggy girl. I was the receptionist.
Yeah. And those were sort of the glory days when Jimmy Kimmel was funny.
Yeah.
Listen, Adam has always been. That's the thing is I was always a fan of Adam Carolla before I got to work with him. So I started making these films. We made No Safe Spaces back in 2016, 2017. Yes. And my goal was just to make a mark on culture. I had worked in Hollywood for a good number of years, well over a decade. And I just got tired of being a sort of a cog in that wheel. I wanted to have my own voice in this sort of war of ideas that was going on. My values were very different than Hollywood's. And so I just took a leap of faith and jumped out and started doing my own work. And No Safe Spaces was sort of like a culmination of my work up to that point, and got to do a feature film with Adam Carolla and Dennis Prager, and work with those guys. Both of them, I was already a fan of, so it was a real privilege to work with them. And we set out to examine a very crucial issue of our day, which is still a crucial issue, which is free speech and the attack on free speech. And one thing I would point out, I think, with all the films that I've gotten to work on here, No Safe Spaces, What is a Woman, and now Am I Racist? There is a through line of that has to do with speech, that has to do with like, hey, are we allowed to talk about these ideas? Are we allowed to say what we feel about these things? And so it all started with No Safe Spaces. That momentum continued into What is a Woman when I met Matt Walsh. And then now, of course, with Am I Racist, getting to work with Matt again has been a real privilege and a real pleasure. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is really make entertaining movies that move the dial on culture. For so long, conservatives have kind of struggled to make things that are really entertaining. They were the type of things that we wanted to watch, that we wanted to get behind, but they just didn't have that level of entertainment. And so my goal has always been to make things very entertaining, very funny. Humor is a powerful tool. I think we did it best in Am I Racist? I think it's definitely the funniest movie that I've worked on, and Matt is just absolutely brilliant. But you can see how humor opens people up to ideas, and that's been our goal, is to open people up to the right ideas. We feel like our side has the right ideas. We've just have had trouble in the past communicating those ideas. And so we're really excited about this film coming out, and we're really excited about what it'll do in culture. I mean, it's true. Politics is downstream from culture. And so we really need to make a mark in culture.
Well, as Robert Bork once wrote, we are slouching towards Gomorrah. And I agree with you that conservatives have had a hard time kind of not making Hallmark-esque schlock. And right. I'm really excited to see that you and Matt, and before that, Adam and Dennis Prager are in that space trying to broaden people's minds and to realize, the left has gone so crazy. Like, for example, I was on Breitbart yesterday, and the new Marvel Disney witch thing that they're going to be pushing out to kids on Disney Plus. I don't even know what it's called, but it's about witches, and it's like the gayest Marvel ever, and everyone's like all excited about it. It's like they've gone so crazy that conservatives have a real chance. I mean, Trey Parker, Matt Stone are doing it brilliantly on South Park and have for,
right.
a zillion years. But now there's more people putting their feet in the water, realizing actually there's more of us around than they think there are. The Reagan movie is a great example with Dennis Quaid and Penelope and Miller. And people are just like, we're just like, F it, man. Like, we're not going to play their game anymore. And I think it's really exciting.
Well, I think you make a really, really good point, which is the left has left an opening here in culture. The left has become increasingly illiberal, a very, very regressive.
Yes.
They call themselves the progressives, but they've become very regressive. They've also become very humorless. And this is our opportunity. The right and conservatives and really that includes just people that are free thinkers, like people like Joe Rogan, Shane Gillis. These are guys that maybe not you wouldn't consider necessarily conservatives, but they are stepping into that void, and us as conservatives can too. There's a real opening here, a real opportunity to jump into this void that's been left by the humorless left. And we are the punk rock now. I mean, I think that's the main point. We are now the punk rock. We are the counterculture. And it's important that we step into that role, because the left right now controls all the major institutions. They control academia. They control the corporations. You can see that with DEI, which is the point of our film, Am I Racist? They control all of this, and they've been beating these messages into us and trying to get Americans to submit to their sort of leftist ideologies. And here's our chance to stand up and be countercultural, to be punk rock, so to speak. Now, the cool thing there is we don't have to be like Sid Vicious and bite the head off of bats to do that. All we have to do is be unapologetic and bold and courageous in promoting our ideas, and do it with humor and do it with boldness. And that's all that we're trying to do with Am I Racist? And that's what we did with What Is a Woman, is try to do things with a bit of humor, be bold, and be unapologetic. There's no more fearless person out there than Matt Walsh. And he's paid it's been a sacrifice for him to be that guy that's attacked relentlessly, but it's making a difference. And these movies, our goal was to have them out there and give people courage to talk about these things. Before we made What Is a Woman, I don't think anybody really wanted to talk about the gender ideology and the trans ideology. It was an issue that people just kind of wanted to go away, but it wasn't going to go away. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. And we needed to confront it. And so what I'm proud about, what Matt is proud about, is that we were able to make a film that gave people the courage to talk about it and say, no, I don't buy it. I don't like the medicalization of children. I don't like men and women's sports. I don't agree with that. I'm going to stand against that. And so, sometimes a piece of culture will allow people to do that, to be courageous and to fight in their own ways.
Yeah, I feel like we're in a really weird time. I've made the comparison that the left now is like the modern day alchemists, and in the Middle Ages, the alchemists were the scientists, the experts who thought they could turn human feces into gold. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now, where these people think, men can be women just because they chop off their junk, and, that men can control the weather. And I hope that you and Matt do a climate change one next, because I remember years ago there was a great documentary called Cool It. Did you ever see that?
I did not see that one. I think I heard
It's a
about it, but
good
I
one,
didn't.
and I know you're in
Yeah.
Denver now. So with the crazies, the environmental crazies,
Yeah.
there, it's from a perspective of a guy who's like, maybe there is climate change, but human beings are not causing it, and we all realize, yeah, the weather always changes. So we're dealing with a group of people who do not believe in objective reality, and so I think it's for the life of me, I don't know why conservatives have ceded so much ground, because we are the majority. And movies like Am I Racist? What is a Woman? No Safe Spaces. It's allowing people to just go, yeah, we are the majority. And I was reading a review from a girl that reviewed the movie on IMDb, and she was like, it was wild because we're all walking in and everyone's kind of not looking at each other. And then as the movie goes on, we're kind of start looking at each other and nodding and realizing, yeah, we're not, they're the crazy ones. So I think it's exciting. There's a Robin DiAngelo clip that's been going around. Can you set the Robin DiAngelo thing up and who she is and all that funny stuff?
Sure. Oh, I'd happy to. I love talking about Robin.
Yeah, she's something.
Robin DiAngelo, I think she sort of represents somebody who's at the top of the DEI industry, sort of one of the thought leaders. One of her book came out back in, I think it was 2018, but it's called White Fragility.
Right.
And she wrote this book. It became a New York Times bestseller for a couple years in a row. It's the type of book that all the corporations and academia was basically forcing people to read. It's absolute garbage. I mean, it basically just tells us that, as white people, that you're racist no matter what. And if you deny that, well, that's proof that you're racist.
Yeah.
So it's what we call a Kafka trap. It's a fallacy that basically she created to trap white people into thinking, okay, well, I'm racist. There's nothing I can do about it. And so she's one of the nation's preeminent grifters. She's made a ton of money off of this. She offers workshops that she's been doing to major corporations like Google and Netflix and many, many others, Coca-Cola. And she's been teaching this oppressed versus the oppressor mentality, which has completely divided our society. The book is total garbage, but for some reason, it's been the thing that people have pointed to. So you could consider Robin DiAngelo, like if there's like the DEI parade, she's the grand marshal, waving the baton at the head of the parade. And so it was a real privilege for us to get her in our movie.
Yeah.
And to get Matt in the room with her. And so there's a pivotal scene in the film where we have Matt sit down with, we set her up properly. We kind of let the audience know who this woman is and her position in our society. And then later we get Matt in the room with her. Of course, she doesn't really realize it. Yeah, so this is the part of the movie where Matt is on his journey now. He's transformed his look to look much more like an ally, to look much more like a progressive and enlightened ally, which is sort of a joke in our film. But it does allow him to get in the room with people and people not recognize him right away. And so they end up having a long conversation, and Matt sort of turns the tables on Robin DiAngelo. In one case, he actually walks her through like a role play, like a workshop role play, where he presents a scenario and has her react to that. And it is so funny. And it just, the brilliance of Matt Walsh on his feet in that moment to sort of steer the conversation and really reveal the harmful natures of her philosophy and sort of the logical what you say, just reveal the bad ideas that are in her books. And at the end, spoiler alert, I don't know if I want to give that part away, which is the big moment with Robin DiAngelo. But you have to go buy tickets to see ultimately what Matt does with Robin at the end, which he essentially paints her into a logical corner and she has nowhere to go. And you really won't believe what Matt gets her to do.
I hope he pulls off his disguise like Scooby-Doo. And she says, those darn kids or whatever they used to say. Justin, you're coming to Houston at the Citizens for Defending Freedom Gala, and we're very excited to have you. And I wanted to give that shout out to people if they want to get tickets. The website is kind of unwieldy, so I'll just give you the basics. If you Google cdf.events, or just go to cdf.com and then put in Justin Folk or Citizens Defending Freedom, Justin Folk. Here's the full link. So get your pens out, everybody. cdf.events/HA Justin Folk, and it's FOLK, or contact Courtney Daniel, who I know, at cdaniel@ccdfusa.com. So when in doubt, just do the Google, put Citizens Defending Freedom, Justin Folk. And
I think it's called Stand Up for Freedom is the name of the event, I believe.
And you're on September 27th, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Saturday. It's going to be Saturday. No, I'm sorry. It's the 28th. It's
28th.
Saturday, September 28th. It's the Harris County Citizens Defending Freedom event, Stand Up for Freedom. I'll be there. There's some other special guest speakers.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a great event, and we're going to talk about how we can really affect culture as conservatives together. We all play different roles.
We do.
We're not all filmmakers. Everybody's role is equally as important here in terms of fighting the left. And we're going to have some fun. We're going to have some laughs. It's going to be a great event. So definitely, if you're in Houston, if you can make it on the 28th, love to see it.
Or surrounding areas. I'm really looking forward to meeting you there. Also, General Flynn's going to be there, and former Democrat Shawn Thierry, who I don't know if you know the story about this woman. I'll give it to you real quick. She's a Democrat, or she was, and she voted against. She sided with the Republicans in the Texas House against the gender modification bill, and when she did that, she got primaried by the left, and she got booted from her. She got booted from her job because of that. So she's joined the Republican Party. So I'm really excited to talk to all of you, and thank you so much for joining me today. How can people find out about what you're doing? Your Twitter, X. I'm trying to reprogram my brain to say X because the left says Twitter.
Yeah, I know it's hard.
It's hard. What's your X? Where can people go see the movie, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on X, Justin Folk, and the big thing is the movie. Go out and see it in theaters if you can, because it's just a very different experience to see it in a theater with other people, and laughter is contagious. You won't regret it. So far, the reviews have been phenomenal, at least from regular people. The mainstream critics refuse to review it because they're scared of this film. I think they know it's good. I think they know it's going to do incredible damage to this leftist DEI culture that's been created. So go to amiracist.com for tickets, and there's showtimes all over. We're in about 1,500 theaters nationwide, so hopefully you can find one near you. amiracist.com is where you find those tickets. And definitely go out and see it, because when you buy a ticket, it sends a message. It sends a message to Hollywood that these films are important, these ideas are important, and ultimately allows us to do more of this. So thanks for supporting the film.
I cannot wait to see the box office receipts on this, because they are not pleased, and that makes me very happy. All right,
in theaters now. Yeah,
in theaters now, so, and we'll see you next or the 28th in Houston. You're listening to Angela's Soapbox, everybody. Thank you, Justin. I will be right back.
Thank you.
Okay. Did it stop? Welcome back to Angela's Soapbox. One of the things I really liked about talking to Justin Folk, producer director of Am I Racist, and other Matt Walsh projects, is that he was in Hollywood like the same time I was in Hollywood. And I got a chance to talk to him on my Saturday show too, so definitely listen to that interview too, because there's not much overlap. It's kind of two separate things. But I mean, man, it just kind of took me back to when I was an actress, and how much I just detested the industry. Like, I really hated it. I've said this on the show before. It was like, being an actress, it's like you're constantly in competition with everybody all the time, your best friend, your boyfriend, everybody all the time. And everyone's like, are you working? Who's your agent? Da, 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 da. And then you'd go to, these ridiculous, dumb acting classes like once a week. Sometimes people went twice a week because they're extra masochistic or something. And it's like a 2-hour circle jerk where all they do is like jack each other off and talk about how amazing everybody is. It's like really painful and awful. And I'm just so glad I'm not in that industry anymore. And it's funny because, being a former actress and also being a former teacher, I hated the education industry too. So it's good that God shook me from my complacency, and here we are 10 years later. Okay, so let's talk about this ABC whistleblower thing, because this is really interesting to me. And very strangely enough, the whistleblower affidavit dropped on the afternoon that Trump got shot at again. Coincidence? I don't know about that. So remember last week during the debate, those of us who pay attention to these things and understand that Kamala Harris is either a drunk or a moron, like she can't talk, she's dumb. She word salads her way through everything. If she doesn't have like a totally prepped script, she's like bleh, just dumb. And those of us who watched the debate, and I said this on the Fox local after party here in Houston, I was like, so she either like, I shouldn't say that. I don't remember if I said this or not, but I thought it. Maybe I said it on a show. Whatever. I said either she got the questions in advance and she had a hearing, like an earpiece, or it's like, what's more likely? She either war gamed every single possible question they could have asked her, including answers that were all rehearsed, or she had the questions and or an earpiece. Now, the earpiece thing is really interesting. We'll get to the affidavit in a minute. But the earpiece thing is really interesting because they are like doing the most right now to pretend or to like say that the whole earpiece thing is a conspiracy theory, which at this point we know if they say something is a conspiracy theory, it's like 90%, 99% probably, yeah, that happened. So this Nova earpiece that people are pointing to, saying that she wears these earrings a lot, and it looks very suspiciously like this Nova earpiece that looks like a pearl earring with like a little hoop on it. And, the White House was like, oh, this is an absurd claim. No, it's like, never. And then we come to find out that after the debate, people were like, all right, what's up here? Because this woman can't speak. I don't think she won the debate. I'm not in that camp of thinking that Trump lost. I don't think he lost at all. I think he's a real person who is so sick of this shit, and he's so tired of the constant gotcha and them not being honest about things and like just lying and like not asking real questions. Like they asked about race. They asked about, why are you questioning Kamala Harris's race? Like stupid questions, as opposed to every nightmarish scenario these people have created for us in America. Now, he was very real. I think I on the show, I gave the edge to him because I was like, she didn't fall apart, but I don't think she was good. She word saladed her way. Like she had canned answers, right? But they were all like very well rehearsed. So shortly after the debate, we come to find out that there is a whistleblower, and this started circulating on X a couple days after the debate. And it said that there is an alleged whistleblower, an ABC whistleblower, that is going to come forward and say that Harris got sample questions. They fiddled with the podium to make her look not as short as she is because, she's like 5'2". That part I don't even care about. Like, I get it. Visually, whatever. Like, that the podium doesn't bother me. Getting the sample questions in advance, that bothers me. Making sure that Trump was fact-checked and not her, and that ABC was totally in on it, and David Muir was in on it, and Lindsay Davis, who just also so happens to be Kamala Harris's sorority sister, like they're all in on it. So in any sane world, and I give this caveat because we do not live in a sane world, in any sane world, this affidavit dropping, which did drop on Sunday, again, right around the time Trump got shot, for the second time. Nothing to see here. Move along. In a sane world, this would mean the end of ABC News. This would be the end of Lindsay Davis. This would be the end of David Muir. And this would certainly be the end of Kamala Harris. Another thing that she was, that they weren't going to ask her about was, her knowledge of Joe Biden's decline, which anyone watching TV for the last 5 years knows he ain't all there. And people talk about when he was in Congress, Senate, like Joe Biden was known as one of the dumbest senators, like for sure. But he's a grifter, and he used his family to make money. Obviously, duh. But in the last 5 years, he's just banana pudding brain. So that was another thing that Kamala was not going to be asked about. So when this affidavit dropped, again, people were like, "Oh, this could have been made up on the spot." It's like, no. Hold on a minute, because in this affidavit, it talks about that I've worked for ABC. I'm going to be inserting screenshots if you're watching, so you can see this affidavit yourself. Go on X and look up ABC Whistleblower. It's all over the place. But in this affidavit, the person says, I've worked for ABC News for over 10 years in various positions. For the record, I do not endorse Trump in his capacity as president of the United States. But it sounds like to me that this guy that works for ABC, or I say guy, I don't know, could be a woman. My gut is that it's a man, but I don't know. Could be a man, could be a woman. Supposedly at ABC, they're trying to flesh out this person, obviously. Trying to Epstein this person as soon as possible. But anyway, I think that this person, whoever it is clearly of the old school journalist variety that believes that journalists should be unbiased and neutral, at least give the appearance of impartiality. Like, this is just what we saw last week was just so beyond the pale that, Kamala Harris is, feeling herself thinking, I want another debate. It's like, sweetheart, you don't want another debate, especially after what we now know about ABC. Like, if Trump, I wish that Trump had agreed to another debate. I wish he had before we knew about this affidavit. I wish he had agreed to the debate when there was just the rumor of the affidavit. But let's talk about this affidavit. So this guy, girl, whatever, mailed it to themselves on September 9th. Now, this affidavit was written, notarized in the state of New York on September 9th, which is the day before the debate. So it had been mailed to this person. It had been mailed to Mike Johnson. And it's like, hey, hello, Mike Johnson, you want to look into this at all? Crickets over there from Mike Johnson pretending that he's going to actually attach the SAVE Act to the spending bill. I don't even think we're going to be able to get to that, but don't even get me started on that guy. I'm so over it. But anyway, the point is that it's receipts. And the guy or the girl, whoever, was laying out what ABC was going to do and what we all saw that ABC did. So let's just go over a few of these things here. Many employees of ABC who are looking for a fair and honest debate question the clear bias that is well known throughout the company. It is common knowledge that debate moderators, as well as the chief executive officer of my employer, that's a woman named, I think, Dana Waltons, who is like, who says she has a, quote, extraordinary friendship with Kamala Harris. She probably also has an extraordinary friendship with Meghan Markle. I've said this before, man. Kamala Harris, Meghan Markle, two sides of the same coin. Anyway, totally narcissist dummies, just imposters, total imposters. Anyway, are well known not to support Donald Trump. This led to several employees speaking up in regards to how fair the debate was going to be. We were given assurances the debate would be fair, and neither the Harris campaign nor the Trump campaign would have an unfair advantage. So that's the BS line they were told. And then here's what actually went down. Observations pertaining to debate fairness. I have noted specific instances related to the debate between Trump and Kamala Harris that raise concerns about procedural fairness. The specific perceived bias are as possible. Are as follows. Number one, the podium. Harris got a smaller podium to make her look, more imposing than she is because she's like little. Again, I don't even care about that. I don't even care about the split screen stuff. Like, she was huffing and puffing. She did not look good. She can't hide her disgust on her face. Like, it would be like me debating. Like, I couldn't just sit there and be neutral. Like, there's no way. So I don't even care about that part. Like, that's already assumed that ABC was going to do that. Here's where it gets interesting. Again, this happened September 9th. It was agreed that Donald Trump would be subjected to fact-checking during the debate, while Kamala Harris would not face comparable scrutiny. This was widely known throughout the company that Trump would be fact-checked and Harris would not be fact-checked. That's the kicker. The Harris campaign was provided with sample questions that, while not the exact questions, covered similar topics that would appear during the debate. She was also told that there would be no questions regarding the perceived health of Biden, no inquiries related to her tenure as Attorney General in San Francisco. She was a disaster. No questions concerning her brother-in-law, Tony West, who faces allegations of embezzling billions of dollars in taxpayer funds and who may be involved in her administration if elected. And then the affidavit talks about where this person sent it to, the date, it was September 9th. And again, the date of the affidavit was September 9th. And the debate was September 10th. So, guys, I don't think we're going to hear much about this, unfortunately. I keep waiting for another shoe to drop. I mean, we all do. We're all like, okay, surely this will bring the house down. And it never is. So I feel like that at this point, we're just getting to like critical mass. And it's going to just, everything that we find out about what the deep state is doing and what the globalists are doing and how, I mean, they're all in on it. And that sounds crazy, but it really is true. And it doesn't have to be everyone. Like I said at the top of the show, it can be someone at the top who's communicating with someone in the White House, someone in DHS, someone at home, whatever. It's somebody is doing this. Somebody is coordinating these things. So I think that as a culture, we're starting to reach critical mass. And maybe the ABC whistleblower thing is going to be the kind of thing that's going to be a slow burn. Because, again, in a sane world, this is way bigger than Watergate. But you know what else was bigger than Watergate was the Trump-Russia collusion hoax and the very fine people hoax and all the things that Obama, that Biden, that Hillary Clinton have done, the lives they've destroyed, the lies they've told about Donald Trump. Every one of these things should have been enough to off with their heads if we had a fair media, which we do not. And that is why Donald Trump says that the enemy is the media is the enemy of the people. Now, on that note, we've got some Puff Daddy news, which I'm sure you are all aware of, and we will get to that in our last segment. You are listening to Angela's Soapbox. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Angela's Soapbox. Okay, so the Puff Daddy Shawn Combs stuff. That's a whole onion, okay? That is a whole rabbit hole. I encourage you to go to the X account of a guy named Ian Carroll. I think it's called Cancel Clothing, something. It's something about cancel clothing. Like he has a clothing line. It's like cancel this clothing or something. But he's the dude with the long brown hair and the mustache. He's really sharp. And he goes down a serious rabbit hole about Shawn Combs. Now, as we all say that Ryan Ralph didn't kill himself, I think we can all say here that Puff Daddy, Diddy, Shawn Combs, didn't kill himself. The allegations against Shawn Combs are shocking, but they're just as shocking as Jeffrey Epstein's allegations. But I think it's even a little more shocking because of how like gross that we're coming to find out things are. Like, for example, today it was released that they confiscated 1,000 bottles. First they said it was lubricant, and now they're saying baby oil. Either way, ew, gross. There's allegations of a former girlfriend of his. I'm not going to say the person's name. You can infer who this is on your own, who may or may not be involved with his shenanigans and may or may not be involved with videotaped underage sex with boys and girls. Supposedly Shawn Combs was working with people like Clive Davis and people of Universal Music Group. I can't think of the guy's name, but again, look at that Ian Carroll post that he made on this because it's great. But like, they're all connected. It's all connected. So it turns out it looks like that Shawn Puff Daddy Combs might end up being the Jeffrey Epstein of the entertainment, the music world. And when you think about the absolute garbage that we hear, it's just like the movies. Like, it's all garbage. It's crap. CGI, auto-tune when it comes to music. Like, it's all just crap. And we're being fed this constant diet of garbage and things that, like, hurt the soul and are ugly and are harmful and not wholesome and just un-American and just make you feel yucky. Like, I remember like a couple weeks ago, there's this Lotto song and it's called Big Energy. And I remember I downloaded it because I liked it. I thought it was fun. And then I listened to the unedited version, the not safe for work version. I downloaded that just to see what it was. And I was like, like, it was so bad. It was really bad. And so I deleted it. And there's many, many examples of this. I mean, anyone who listens to any hip hop or rap, we've become anesthetized to it. And it's all an agenda. It's a globalist, evil, satanic, demonic agenda. But supposedly, the Puff Daddy stuff, he had these freak off parties. So we'd invite all these people over. And supposedly, these people are not just in the entertainment business, but they're also in the preaching business, the church business, some big name preachers, movie stars, politicians, business people. Again, similar to Epstein. And there are reports that Epstein and Puff Daddy knew each other, that they were friendly. And my question is, like, when are they going to Epstein this guy? Because supposedly the FBI has gone in there, raided everything. They've probably gotten all the compromat. And so now they have the blackmail material. And I think my guess is that they've had it for quite some time. And I don't even know what to think at this point about the FBI, because obviously they're unbelievably corrupt. Obviously they've got lots of issues, shall we say. But with this RICO and sex trafficking charge, I mean, this is about as serious as you can get in America as charges go. RICO, it's not just, I mean, it's like, what is it, racketeering? I don't even know what the whole thing stands for, but you know, he's accused of murdering people. He's accused of, again, sex trafficking young women, drugging them, raping them. He's accused of like basically setting up or trying to groom different, quote, straight guys that are rappers that want to be in the business. And he's like, well, if you want to be in the business, you've got to do some gay shit. Like, essentially, like, you have to do homosexual things to join this club. And then little did these people know that they've got tape on all of these people. And so basically everyone who's been at one of his parties, like, is like freaking out right now. People like Cat Williams, I'll be honest, I've never seen his comedy. But what I like about him is that for about a year now, and 50 Cent's the same way. Like, not a huge 50 Cent fan. I do know he's a Trump guy, so I love him for that. But I'm not really into hip hop. I like old school hip hop, but I like some 50 Cent. Like, he's pretty cool and he's based. But Cat Williams, 50 Cent have been talking about the problem with Sean Combs for a while now. Like, Cat Williams, a video or an interview he did a couple years ago has been making the rounds, and he's like, yeah, I was offered $50 million 4 different times if I would, basically make my hole a non-virgin hole, basically be sodomized or sodomize someone. And he was like, no. It's like, when they offer you that much money and like you have to sell your soul to do it, like, when are people going to realize, like, the devil is always going to collect? The rent is always going to be due at some point. And it looks like the rent is due for a lot of these people. And so when you think about who gets promoted, and I talked about this with Justin off the air, a little bit, but not. I'm more extrapolating now, but I'm thinking about the time when I was in LA, and I never did nudity, and I wouldn't do nudity because I said, I have a mother and a soul, and I'm not doing it. And I'm so grateful that I never did, because it's such a temporary thing to like get to a next level or whatever. But it's like you sell a little bit of your soul to do that. And those people that have sold their souls, like, I wonder what they're all thinking right now, because supposedly, this is colloquial evidence, of course, Taylor Swift, Katy Perry, all the people that are popular, quote unquote, they've all been associated with Sean Combs on some level at some time. I don't know, man. This is crazy. So this is the quote that was on, I think, Jesse Waters, and 50 Cent posted this. Quote, Mr. Combs had hidden cameras in every room of his home, has recordings of several celebrities, artists, music label executives, and athletes engaging in illegal activity. These individuals were recorded without their knowledge and consent. Mr. Combs possesses compromising footage of every person who has attended his freak-off parties and his house parties. So someone who has been telling him to get right with the Lord, weirdly enough, is Death Row Records' Suge Knight. Again, I'm not into the hip-hop culture, but I know who these people are. So Suge Knight, founder of Death Row Records, not a good guy. Murderer. I think he's in jail right now for second-degree murder. And if anyone thinks that's his only murder, like, come on. Like, no. He probably did a lot more than that. But that's what he's in jail for. But I will give credit to Suge Knight. And I do not know if Suge Knight has had a religious conversion or just a realization of, I screwed up. I'm here. I'm where I'm supposed to be. He's been very clear, like interviews he's done from maximum security jail. Like, he's like, I'm where I deserve to be. And Shawn, he's like telling Puff Daddy, Shawn, you need to come clean. You need to tell everybody what you know. Like, we need to blow the lid off this thing. Like, before they suicide you, before they Epstein you, you need to do the right thing, and you need to tell the truth. So here's what Suge Knight stated. I'll tell you what, Puffy, your life's in danger because you know the secrets, who's involved in that little secret room you guys are participating in. They're going to get you if they can. This is way before his indictment, obviously. Suge went on to apparently alluded to Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine getting into the alcohol business shortly after Diddy was removed from it being questionable. I don't know what that means exactly. Suge, who is currently serving a 28-year prison sentence, told Diddy, quote, sometimes you got to face with music, end quote, you got to make a decision when you go to prison. Either you're going to be standing up pissing or squatting down, sitting down pissing. I advise you to take the first one. In closing, Suge warned Diddy that, quote, do not do your time going by Brother Love. Brother Love is not a good code name for prison. So I guess, like basically saying that Diddy's on the down low. I think there's been rumors about his sexuality for quite some time. And in the Black community, like, being gay is still, that's why they call it being on the down low, because it's really frowned upon. So when Homeland Security raided Puffy's properties, it is reported the first thing they did was turn off his surveillance and recover all of his footage. So the government has it. It is also reported that Homeland Security was searching for and confiscated electronic devices in addition to reporting a camera in every room of the mansion. These facts, in addition to the recent sex traffic investigation against Diddy, stated that Diddy kept cameras in every room of his house to blackmail participants of his parties. And one more thing, comedian Eddie Griffin, friend of Cat Williams, and again, Cat Williams has been screaming this from the rooftops for quite some time. Cat Williams is, the anecdotes I've heard about him is like he's a really good guy, and he's generous, and he's kind, and all the things you love to hear about people. Eddie Griffin, I don't know anything about Eddie Griffin. I know he's a comedian. Same kind of boat, though. He claims that Diddy is being sacrificed by powerful forces. He suggests that the raids on Diddy were orchestrated by industry giants like Universal Music Group, Clive Davis, and Lucian Grange, who allegedly conspired to seize the blackmail tapes Diddy had on them. Now, again, go to Ian Carroll, X-Post, because he gets into those names are going to pop up. in the stuff he's uncovered. According to Griffin, these figures leverage their connections with the FBI and Department of Homeland Security to confiscate the incriminating evidence. So, what's the over-under on when Shawn Puff Daddy Combs is going to be Epstein? I think we can all stay hashtag Diddy didn't kill himself. There's so much I did not get to, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't even get to the latest update on the Haitians eating the dogs and cats. And the more they tell us that they're not eating the dogs and cats, and the more they tell us it's a conspiracy theory, the more you could probably like totally assume it's 100% real. So we'll be back next week to talk about all this. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube, my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook, BitChute, Rumble, please go find me. Unfortunately, they all have different names. Look for Angela Box, look for Angela Soapbox, or The Box That Rocks. One of those should get you to the right place. And until next time, everybody, keep kicking ass and taking names. Peace!